Hello, everyone, and welcome to my A Quiet Place Part 2 review. Just getting started, I think this is honestly one of the best horror sequels I've ever seen. I think it delivers just as much, if not even more, than the first film does in terms of tension and scares, and maybe not quite on the emotion in this one, but still it gets close to the emotion of the first one, which is quite a feat because that first one was amazing. And just overall, it is kind of like impeccably crafted as a film. I think it's pretty much near perfect. So those are my overall quick thoughts before we dive deeper into some more details. First off, no spoilers here. I'll be very vague with my descriptions. I think you won't really get anything spoiled. The trailers for this movie did a good job not spoiling anything as well. So yeah, let's go quickly. What is this movie about? Okay, so the film picks up right after the events of the first film, as the Abbott family must now venture beyond their home and into the unknown outside world, as they quickly realize that the creatures are not the only threat that they have to face. This was my first film back to theaters since Tenet in last August, which so been a while, been a few months. And then before Tenet, I believe it was 1917 was the last movie I saw in theaters that January of 2020. So I haven't had a lot of theater experiences within the last year and a half. So any movie that I do see in theaters, I do think gets that benefit of being a what is now for me a rare theater experience, hopefully becoming more common. But that didn't honestly help Tenet. I didn't like Tenet at all. So that I don't think there's really much bias there, but I think should have let everyone know just up front there. And this is a perfect theater experience for the sound design. My theater was actually relatively crowded, not like crowded for COVID era. And hearing other people's reactions for the scares and stuff, and honestly, just one of the best overall film theater experiences I've had in a while. So, if you can see it in theaters, please go check it out. I think it is totally worth it. But if you do not feel safe, then don't do it. Okay, so John Krasinski here has noticeably leveled up as a director. There's a lot of his craft and work in this film that gets me excited to see what he does for his future films. It's very well done. I think his most impressive scene as a director is probably the opening scene. There's within this opening scene many well-crafted long shots as well as throughout the movie, but they stood out particularly in the opening scene. It's the biggest scale of action that the entire film has, and I think another director could have like tried to go bigger with the action. This he does not here. He keeps it very centered and focused around the characters, which he continues to do for the action throughout the rest of the entire film. He's a very character-focused director, which is amazing. I also think a less talented director slash writer would have used this opening scene where there aren't murderous sound hunting aliens to deliver more character conversation, dialogue, exposition. But surprisingly and just amazingly, this opening scene before the aliens arrive, or you'll see as the aliens arrive, it's still very silent. There's very little dialogue. It's very visual and like just sound noise focused. There's family still uses sign language, but I think it's just really as quiet as the rest of the film with all of the character interactions. They're all expression based, and I think that just continues on with it fits very well with the rest of the movie. I think it could have stuck out if it was very dialogue based and we start off that way, but he did a very good job with the opening. One of the standout moments of the film. In many ways, he is Spielbergian with the way he directs. He is very human focused and very sentimental in pretty much the entire movie for the whole family. And just overall, his craft here just very well done. It is honestly one of the most tense film experiences I've had in a while, probably since the first A Quiet Place. I was just on the edge of my seat throughout the entire film, and the characters are they're always on the run. There's always some sort of constant tension with like there's very few moments of reprieve throughout the whole movie, and that just makes those few moments of like reprieve even more powerful. that they actually finally have a moment that they aren't extremely worried, along with us. There's one surprising thing that happens like within the first 10 to 15 minutes of this film to one of the characters that shocked me. And you just felt within this scene the true visceral and horrible pain that this character was feeling. It was an acting highlight for me for the whole movie. I think anyone who's seen it will know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to spoil what happens because it was one of the bigger shocks for me in the film. So yeah, that was a great moment. And there are also many simple things that are set up earlier on in the film. Something simple as like a lock or a simple sign language move that pay off very well later on, and that's just Krasinski as a writer putting in all those little setups and payoffs. They deliver very well throughout the film. The film separates our characters for the majority of the film, honestly, which surprised me and also kind of scared me at first because I was afraid that they would have to cut back and forth between the two different groups here. But the film is very, very well edited, and that is probably one of, if not my favorite things about this movie, and something that I really want to shout out. So, shout out to editor Michael P. Schauber. Sorry if I messed up your last name, but amazing, amazing job. Some of the best editing I've seen in a long, long time here. The film is able to cut between different scenes very frequently, like very, very frequently, more than most films ever cut between two different scenes that rapidly. But it doesn't lose any of the tension within each individual scene, which is also difficult to do as you cut back and forth between two different scenes. So not only is the editing able to maintain this peak suspense within each scene, but it also identifies these parallels and like connections between the two concurrent scenes as they happen at the exact same time. And there's very poignant moments where you see the connections between the two different groups and what they're going through. In particular, the climax of the film, which I will not spoil, but the parallel editing in there particular is very, very powerful. I mean, the ending, I mean, we'll get into it later, but very, very good. Another shout out I want to give is to composer Marco Beltrami. He delivers a thrilling and emotional score. There are many scenes throughout this film where there's no score because it's very like silence focused, so you don't really want to hear anything. But that just makes the moments where there is a score even more powerful and important. And the way he delivers in certain scenes, like a very emotional score, and then the like horror suspense score during other different more scary scenes. It's very, very well done, and it allows his work here as a composer to stand out more. The performances here are, of course, all great. I mean, it's a very, very talented cast. The standout here would be Millicent Simmonds. She very much takes the leading role of this film, while the rest of her family, and in particular Emily Blunt, have much smaller roles than one may expect going into it. Yeah, Simmonds, as I forget the character's name, but the daughter, she carries many scenes solely on her shoulders throughout this entire movie, and she carries them perfectly. She is a great protagonist, a great lead, and the film's sound editing and mixing is it's obviously very good as it was in the first film. But there is one like sound design trick that they do with her character in particular throughout the movie, of where you're put in her shoes as a deaf person and how scary it can be as a deaf person in this apocalypse scenario with these like monsters. You like just see what it's like to be in her perspective, and that was very well done and also scary. And the way that they bring the sound back through human touch, also amazing. So I think there's a lot of cool sound design techniques surrounded around her character as well. And just overall, she's a movie star. I don't care if she's deaf, she should have a big career boost from this, which sadly I don't think she really did from the first film, but she's the main focus here. So Hollywood, do her good, please. I would say her co-lead in this film would surprisingly be actually Cillian Murphy, who is, I mean, he's simply incredible. I mean, it's not a surprise, Cillian Murphy being an incredible actor, but I do think that this is one of his best performances that I have personally seen. I have not seen Peaky Blinders, so there's that. But he adds an extra dimension to this entire story. I think that is much needed and felt necessary. And he also has, I think, the most powerful character arc of the entire film. His character goes through the most change. I would have expected myself to be upset by this new character taking more of a spotlight than say, Emily Blunt's character, Noah Jupe's character. But I was actually surprisingly not, because the character and Murphy's performances are both just so good that I wouldn't have it any other way. He is very, very. Noah Jupe in this film, he does still have a larger role and presence overall than he did in the first film. And he has a few scenes that he just absolutely nails. I mean, he is an incredible actor. So he just knocks everything that he has to do out of the park, even though I would have liked if he had more to do, but what he was given, he absolutely nailed. I think his character could have easily come across as unlikable, but Jupe is just, he has a lot of charisma, and he also feels like the most realistic portrayal of someone in the apocalypse. I think both Emily Blunt's character and the Millicent Simmonds character are both a little more tough and like main character material, while Noah Jupe just feels a little more realistic as someone would be in the situation, and that makes him honestly maybe the character I related to the most, just because that's probably how a lot of us would be during this apocalypse. But yeah, he was great. Blunt has a much smaller role than I expected. She doesn't really get to do much in this film, but what she is given, she is great with. The siblings take a lot more focus, but every moment she gets, she's very good, as expected. I only have one minor complaint or nitpick, I guess really is all it is the ending of this film. The ending of the first film did feel a little abrupt, but I like the way it ended with the shotgun reloading. But this one in particular, it felt like we reached the climax, and I was like, oh, what, great, I can't wait to see where it goes after this. And then everyone's really, I think lots of people who watch a lot of movies are able to tell, like, oh, that's like an ending shot. Like, especially with TV shows, there's the final shot, and you're like, oh, dang, it's about to end. So then they showed the final shot, and I was like, is it really about to end? And it just ended. And it did feel pretty abrupt, but I think the fact that I just like really wanted to see more of it is a testament to how good the movie was. I mean, it's very short runtime, very tight, compact, well edited, like I said. No fat on this movie. So it's kind of like if I watched an episode of a TV show and it's like big, kind of a cliffhanger. But it also has its own singular story that it ends pretty satisfyingly, but it just leaves a larger gap of the door open for a sequel, which I think will definitely get a third film, and I can't wait to see it. But the ending did feel slightly abrupt, but that's just nitpicking, honestly, because overall, this is a really strong film. Every technical aspect of this film is executed to, I think, near perfection. And both the emotion and the tension are extremely powerful. And what more could you really ask for from a horror film? So A Quiet Place, I'm going to give it let's go out of 100 instead of out of 10. I'll give it a 92%. So congratulations, A Quiet Place. You get an A. Go see it if you can, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please, if you have seen it, comment what you think down below. Give the video a like, share it around, or don't do anything. Just do what you want to do.